Drill instructors? Where do you all get the hilarious and most outrageous insults when screaming at recruits? My favorite for my boot days was getting a line inspection and my TI rifles through this kid's clothes and screams, "Oh, it looks like someone with no arms folded these clothes." It made us all laugh, but then we all got in trouble for laughing. Next story. Where'd you park it? Sir? Where'd you park it? Sir, the recruit doesn't understand the drill instructor's question. You're a freaking spaceship. You aren't from this planet, so where'd you park it? Whole platoon loses it. Next story. Navy OCS. I was in the final phase, so I got to help the DIs do inspections of newer classes. One candidate had put his belt on backwards, which is how women wore those belts. DIs catch it, begin to question his gender identity, and one tells him to sing "I'm Just a Girl" by Pink. The candidate sang the entire song in tune and totally nailed it. All three DIs stood in stunned silence, and the candidate passed to the inspection. Hey, you know what? He followed instructions well. As far as I'm concerned, that's all the Army cares about, right? Or Navy, sorry. Next story. The military is highly structured and departmentalized with manuals for every need. Each instructor is provided with the manual Mental Domination of Recruits Through Invective and Sarcasm, MDRTIS Revision 17.0.5. The manual, along with 40 hours of training, 10 self-study, and 30 group practice sessions, establishes the foundation for tearing a recruit down mentally and incrementally installing a self-image more aligned with selflessly following orders and seeking a positive response from superiors. Much like the Webster's Dictionary, every year the publishers of the MDRTIS meet and evaluate new terms to incorporate into the manuals, as well as retiring terms that have lost any serviceability. A few years ago, lying dog-faced pony soldier was removed, thus ending all references to horse-mounted cavalry units, which makes sense in a modern mechanized military. It was replaced with references to tanks and armored personnel carriers that were workshopped in breakout group sessions. Less than 6% of submissions make it to the field. Field testing and feedback loops ensure that all that does is the best the U.S. military can offer. Sarcasm, if you couldn't tell. Next story. I had one of those electric shavers you could take in the shower way back when those were a new thing. TI did a locker inspection and said, "What the piss is this alien mothership doing in your locker, trainee?" I knew bringing it was a huge risk, but I also knew the other trainees were regularly getting smoked for wet or dirty razors, so I figured I'd risk it. I gave my reporting statement and said it was my razor. In front of 139 other dudes standing silently at attention, he and I then spent the most nerve-wracking 2 minutes of my life while I talked him through the various features. When he asked if I had to put shaving cream on, I told him to push the blue button. A shaving gel came out directly onto the razor and he about lost his crap. Took an entire lap around my bed and said it was goddarn unbelievable to see the wonders of modern technology right here in the flesh. I thought the entire time he was setting me up for something horrible, but he put it back and told me, "Good inspection, trainee." And I think my guts are still stuck somewhere up in my chest all these years later. Next story. When I was in boot for the Navy during a beating, PT in the barracks while being yelled at, I grunted really loud while our RTC drill instructor was counting out push-ups, and he yelled, "You are not gonna turn big and green." I collapsed with laughter. Next story. Went through Navy boot in 79. Watching An Officer and a Gentleman in 82, my wife asked me if boot camp was really like that. All I could tell her was that every single screaming insult I heard in the movie I had first heard from my DI in boot camp. Wasn't quite to the level of Full Metal Jacket, as no hands-on stuff was allowed, but the insults? Classic. Next story. I had the pleasure of experiencing an old-school British Sergeant Major. In 89, I think he'd been in at least 30 years at that point. I was prepping for the BOTC grad parade. I think my favorite of the many gems was, "Somewhere a village is missing its idiot because he's prancing around on my parade square." He also corrected another grad about how to do an about-face, and specifically, it should not include, quote, "screwing yourself into the parade square." Next story. My favorite was the day after having both my wisdom teeth pulled and a root canal. I was riding high on painkillers and my RDC was yelling at my buddy. My RDC was called the Dragon. He was this tall, slim native guy. Very sharp features and intense glare. Anyway, I start to laugh at something he says, just like out loud belly laugh. I'm on bed rest, so he can't do anything to me for a few days. He runs up to me and starts promising to roast my butt as soon as I'm off bed rest. I laughed harder. I remember a look of either amusement or exasperation on his face as he just moved on and yelled about something else. He did end up having another RDC work me out under a stairwell for a while, but only like 30 minutes. I think it was more like a he needs to keep up appearances thing, because really I ended up doing small jobs for a couple of hours and then went back to my division. He was actually a decent guy. Stood up for another recruit and I when we were sent across the base 5 minutes before curfew. We showed up like 20 minutes after and got yelled at by him for a minute before I told him what happened. took us in the office and called up the other RDC and freaking tore into him for a while. Made sure we were okay and basically said that he didn't blame us at all. It was like week 1 for his division and week 2 for us. I love stuff like this, getting to hear other stories and remembering things I haven't thought about for decades. Next story. I went to Navy Basic at NTC San Diego. Our chief was inspecting racks, beds, and the top of the sheet was supposed to be exactly 8 inches from the end of the mattress. He was walking around checking everyone's rack with a ruler, and he asked one guy, "Son, does that look like 8 inches to you?" Then he says, "If that's 8 inches, my dong's a foot long." It's been almost 40 years and I still laugh about it. Next story. I don't know the answer to this question, but I'd say it's probably both. I still remember my first day of boot camp when my company commander, Navy equivalent of a drill instructor, called me the syphilitic afterbirth of a lesbian Chinese cluster bang. It was the nicest thing he said to me for the entirety of boot camp. Quite memorable, too. Next story. I had a DI that wouldn't let the other DIs swear. It made for some creative sayings. Imagine "good night, soldier," said in such a way that it sounded like they were cussing someone out. The DI that wouldn't let anyone swear was actually generally considered the scariest. On the last day of BCT, though, she let us in on her secret. The day she had jumped on the table in the mess hall and screamed at a soldier so bad they wet themselves, she was trying really hard to keep a straight face because she stepped in the other DI's mashed potatoes. Next story. I don't know, but I swear boot camp was the funniest place and you're just not allowed to react to it. There were a few, but the most memorable one wasn't even an insult to anybody. Our second RC was supposed to become an inspector but picked up our division instead. So when the people he was supposed to have worked with came around to do our second inspection, they bombed the absolute crap out of us. They were ruthless. So after our inspection, we're at the tow line waiting to get smoked when our second RDC starts a speech. It pretty much goes, "Sometimes in life, and certainly in your Navy careers, you're going to get crap on. It happens, and it sucks. But you can either sit there in the crap, or you can get up and shake it off." Now, for those who don't know, there's a call and response that happens, at least in Navy boot camp, where after each set of exercises, the recruiter will order, "shake it off," to which the reply from the recruits is, "Shake what off?" Sure enough, somebody in the division goes, "Shake what off?" And our second RDC just spins to look at them with the most incredulous look and goes, "The crap!" Next story. Air Force basic reverse situation. We had a temporary MTI filling in while our main one was out on leave. Temp TI was super old school and had plenty of gems, but none beats this. There were these mats on the floor we had to keep clean. In particular, they had a shiny rubber trim that boot dust would stick to anytime someone stepped on it. One day, our temp TI got fed up watching oblivious trainees leaving dusty boot prints all over the rubber trim immediately after the cleaning crew had just wiped it down. He lined everyone up, dressed us down for not working as a team, and appointed one trainee to guard the rubber trim and remind people not to step on it while everyone else carried on with the dorm chores. This went on for an hour, with the rubber guard occasionally shouting, "Don't step on the rubber," at any trainee that came too close. Finally, we had to leave for a class, so our TI lined us up again and dressed us down one last time for good measure before we left. Well, he got so passionate in his rant at us that he wasn't paying attention to where he was walking and started to step on the rubber trim. Cue trainee rubber guard shouting in the shrillest and loudest voice I ever heard him do, "Don't step on the rubber!" Right as the TI's boot made contact with the trim. The TI froze for a solid 2 seconds, then did a sharp about face, and silently disappeared into the flight office, face contorted with a mix of rage and laughter. Our entire flight lost it as soon as he disappeared, something we got punished for later, but damn it, I will never forget the rubber guard's look of pure glee as he realized what the TI was about to do. One of the funniest things I saw in basic, hands down. Next story. Standing at attention on the drill pad and a freaking jet flies over. USAF, so it's predictable, which the trainer is waiting for so he could catch someone looking at it. And when the poor bastard did, he said to him, "Go get it." Sir? "Bring me that plane. Now, go get it." Let the dude run for like 200 yards before he sent someone after him. Next story. I was supposed to be studying my manual while standing at attention. I looked up for a split second to take a peek at a flight of women marching by. I felt a brim hat touch the back of my head. In a stern tone, all I heard next was, "Next time you do that, I'm going to shove my leg so far down your throat that the sweat from the back of my knee will quench your thirst." Never happened again. Next story. My buddy served 11 years. Said that the one standout to this day was from his first few weeks of basic. Had a dude in his unit with a lazy eye. According to legend, DI was going up and down the line, giving some standard safety spiel, making sure the recruits are paying attention. Gets to the lazy eye and goes, "Are you paying attention, recruit? Because I can't tell. I don't like the way you're looking at him while I'm talking to you." Several people had to do push-ups after that. So, I'm assuming the DI didn't know about the lazy eye? That's the only way this one makes sense to me. Otherwise, it's just kind of rude. But yeah, I'm assuming he just didn't know and it was hilarious. So people laughed and, you laugh, you get push-ups, I think. I don't know, do I sound like I've been in the army? The answer is no. Next story. From the misty depths of time, wisdom rolls down from the gods to our lips. I was an instructor and confess that I never had an original insult for the newbies. I'm pretty sure some hard-ass old centurion in Caesar's day said, "Did you leave your brain in your socks this morning?" I said left. Your other left, idiot. It's hard to improve on the classics. Although once I had the trainees fall out for breakfast when I saw a young lad with bits of toilet paper stuck to his face. Nicked himself shaving, for those who know. I braced him, of course. "Son, what the hell is wrong with your face?"
Sir, I was born that way, sir."
"You was born with crap paper all over your face? I'ma call your mama right now, goddammit." Pretty hard to keep a straight face for me and for them. I remember later in training with the same flight, I was in the squad bays when I heard one of the squad leaders on the other side say, "Were you born with crap paper all over your face? Center this towel on your rack or I'm gonna call your mama right now, goddammit." They laughed and so did I. Good times. Next story. Buddy of mine was ahead of me in the room inspection order. The first day back from our weekend leave, the MCPL was asking everyone if they got laid. "Private bloggins, did you get any this weekend?"
No, MCPL. I'm a virgin, MCPL.
I lost it and couldn't stand. The staff lost it worse, barely breathing from laughter. Next story. I had a DS with a Gears of War tattoo on his neck. He caught me glancing into him. We were in line for our TA-50 and was supposed to be looking forward. He gets in my face and starts screaming at me. I had my BCGs on at the time, so I looked pretty nerdy. He asked, "Are you a nerd, Private?" I said, "Yes, DS." He then asked me what 1.21 gigawatts was. I said, "The power to achieve time travel, DS." He looked at me and was shocked and then walked away. Called me out after graduation and said, "You broke me a little that day. I'll never forgive you." Next story. When I was in boot camp, we had a recruit have the DI at a loss of words for a second. We were going out for some field training and the DI was packing us by the numbers with our big and day packs. He tells us to put one MRE in each of the packs. Then the recruit across from him asks, "Sir, which MRE should this recruit put in his big pack? Spaghetti with meat sauce or cheese tortellini?" For a second, the DI didn't know what to say, but quickly composed himself and told the kid, "Boy, I don't give a crap." Next story. One that sent me was a trainee getting reamed, and the MTI barked, "Jesus Christ, trainee, what flavor were the windows on your bus?" I lost it. Many lost it. Then there was a time that a guy got caught smuggling peanut butter out of his chow on his PTs, so the MTIs had him stand in front of the formation waiting to eat, and they made him sing Peanut Butter Jelly Time. I've never seen so much tears and drama come along with that song in my life. Next story. My martial arts instructor relayed a story about a time a drill instructor farted. "Do my farts stink, recruit?" Well? They only stink if you want them to, drill sergeant." "You're goddamn right they do." At which point he completely loses it. Next story. The one time that sticks out in my memory. Our usual guide and bearer was at a medical appointment, so our backup guide and bearer named Seaman Recruit Smith had the guide in. He was about 5'5" compared to our typical guide and bearer who was 6'1". Our CC marched us through a puddle on the way to chow that was deeper than most, getting up to the tops of our boots. Once we cleared it, our CC yelled, "Smith, you still with us?"
"Yes, Chief Hardy."
"Good, just checking." We all had a discreet chuckle at that. Next story. I was in U.S. Coast Guard boot camp and we had prior service members from Army, Marines, Navy, and Air Force. The former soldier was asked if he was ever deployed. He said yes, but never went outside the wire since he was a support role of some sort. The company commander, CC, our version of drill sergeants, asked him, "Are you sure you were in the U.S. Army and not the Salvation Army?" Another time, the same CC asked a male redhead recruit about our Thanksgiving liberty we took part in. We had to be dismissed from the base chapel to civilian families volunteering to sponsor us off base. He asked him, "How'd they let you in the chapel? Don't you need a soul to enter?" Entire company struggled to hold it together. Next story. Was never a drill/training sergeant/instructor, but I was a regular old sergeant in the infantry. Half of it is stuff we heard when we went through basic or boot and movies. The rest is life experience and observational humor. For example, I had a private in my team that had the brain capacity of a potato. Dude was dumber than dirt, and one day I was finally tired of dealing with his stupid butt not learning from his mistakes. Finally chewed him out. For God's sake, Private, have you ever had a bright idea in your life? I swear to Christ, it's like instead of a light bulb, you have a freaking potato going above your head. I got it, that's what you are now. Private freaking Potato. From then on, it was potato-based humor every time he screwed up, which was often. Sarcasm is also pretty helpful. You just riff on privates doing the same stupid crap you did. Private, if there's one thing I've learned is that you can be smart or you can be strong. Choice is yours. Edit. A favorite one I've heard? I wouldn't trust you to fog a freaking mirror. Wish I'd thought of that one. Next story. Had a drill sergeant who made a point to always be doing PT with us. He told us if we were running, he was running. If we were pushing, he was pushing. The only time he wouldn't be working with us was if we were getting smoked. Fast forward to our last Sunday before graduation. We were doing PT on the drill pad to pass time. Strangely, he's walking up and down our ranks instead of working out with us. For some reason, I decided to open my mouth. Drill sergeant, I said upon seeing his boots while I was doing push-ups, you're not doing PT with us? The boots stop in front of my face. They seem contemplative. No, Private, I'm not. The boots swivel away from me, pause, then swivel back. This is the only time I haven't done PT with you all. I'll level with you. My wife is in a P90X. We're doing the ab ripper when I get home, and I don't want to look like a female dog. Plus, I just ate all of the Skittles out of the contraband box. The boots swivel away again and begin to leave. Sometimes my mouth works faster than my brain. I had been very careful about this for the last 10 weeks. Unfortunately, I said, but Drill Sergeant, won't you look like a female dog when you puke up Skittles while doing P90X with your wife? The boots swivel back towards me faster than I thought possible. My drill sergeant's red face slowly slides into my field of view. What did you say, Private? I push quietly until the silence becomes awkward. Did you want me to... A laugh escapes the face. No, Private. You're lucky you're already pushing. The face slides out of view. The boots swivel a final time and then quickly retreat. I hear a door close. The door laughs loudly, sounding strangely like my drill sergeant. I get to graduate instead of being snuffed out of existence. Don't lie, OP. You were looking to get yelled at. And you didn't even get that. Like, what would ever make you say that to your drill sergeant? You know, the people who famously love to yell at people. I will say, you got him. That was pretty funny. Next story. This happened during the first couple days of Air Force Basic with an entire flight of females. Our TI was a male. He instructed on how to make our racks, beds, and since the mattresses weren't in the best condition, he didn't use the quarter bounce trick but was graphically specific about how tight the pillow cover was to be. Next day he was inspecting the racks and he came to one that was not up to snuff. From the other end and opposite side of the bay, we could hear what happened. I thought I told you how tight this is supposed to be. Low mumble. How tight is this supposed to be, Airman? Low mumble. I can't hear you. Slightly louder mumble. I can't hear you, Airman. How tight is this rack supposed to be? Tight as a virgin snatch, sir. I saw hands clapping over mouths so quickly. Next story. Two of my personal favorites from my time at BMT. Some guy near the rear of the formation is getting smoked for something and the MTI asks him a direct question to which he doesn't respond. So the MTI asks again, louder. Trainee, eyes locked forward, still doesn't respond. So the MTI yells out at him, I am not a T-Rex. My vision isn't based on movement. I see you. Answer me. Another time, we were told to cover or shuffle around to get directly behind the person in front of you to straighten out the formation, and one guy wasn't moving as fast as the MTI wanted. MTI pulls him out of formation and says, Here, you wear the imaginary MTI hat. Boop, as he mimes putting his hat on the trainee. Now tell me to cover. Sir, trainee, blah, blah, cover. MTI then slowly walks sideways a few steps. There, do you see how aggravating that is? Next story. From my brother's time in Air Force. TI tells everyone to put shaving cream on their face to shave. No cans of anything allowed in showers. One dude puts it literally all over his face/forehead. What is this? Did you get hit in the face with a freaking pie? Everyone in the room lost it. Push-ups definitely worth the laugh on on that one. Next story. We had a real freaking truck in our platoon. One day we were playing uniform games. Drills had us running upstairs to the bay and dressing out in random pieces of TA-50 and clothing items, then coming back down to the formation area in a specific time frame. We all made it downstairs in formation except the one guy. He accidentally fell down the stairs from the top stair about 12 steps or so. He hits the ground and our drill turns around, hops in the air with his hands on his campaign hat, and screams out, "What the hell is wrong with you? Did your mom drink the bong water when she was pregnant?" I was in tears, laughing so hard, and he smoked the crap out of us for about 30 minutes telling us that as a platoon, his failures were our failures. Next story. Well, each morning I'd come running out to formation and drill sergeant would always make a comment saying, "Oh, here comes Private Fat Ass taking his time. What are you gonna do, go eat yourself some moon pies when you go home someday?" I explained we didn't really have moon pies where I was from up north. He says, "Bull crap, look at your belly." Slayed me that day. Next story. There's too many to really pick a favorite out. "So you're one of those special recruits, huh?" Is always a good one. Special in this case not meaning special in a good way, naturally. It's much more the volume and tone of voice than the actual words. Stuff like, "Recruit, is your name Sally or something?" It means absolutely nothing, just nonsense you made up on the spot, but it leaves the recruit thinking that whatever you meant, well, it probably wasn't very good. You know, that's a good point. A drill sergeant could really just say anything. It's kind of like talking to a dog, you know? They don't know what you're saying. You could insult them. You could, call them the meanest things you could imagine. But if you say it like this, oh, they're gonna love it. They are. You know? It's the same thing with the drill sergeant. As long as they sound like they're pissed at you, you get it. You get the idea. The words don't matter. Next story. So there I was, trying to take a shortcut from one path to another and cut through the wrong colored posts onto the other path. This was on a rifle range. The DS saw me and hollered for me to stop. He comes up to and puts his arm around my head, resting it on my shoulders. He leans in and with his hand around my neck, points to the wood line 100 yards away and says, "Private, do you see that wood line?" I reply, "Yes, drill sergeant." He then says, "I'm going to take you to that wood line and I'm going to end you. Then I'm going to call and end your whole family." I immediately said to him, "Do you need the number, drill sergeant?" He pulled his arm off me, looked at me, and told me to get back to my platoon as he was about to crack up. Next story. When I went in, I guess there was a protocol installed to where TIs couldn't use certain language to the trainees. So instead of cuss words, we'd get, "Back the truck up," and "Shut the front door." One of my TIs didn't care. He'd still cuss. My favorite was his response to something stupid somebody did. "You've gotta be crapping me." I've continued to use that ever since. One time, while falling in for chow, the trainee assigned to hold our spot in line got crapped on by a bird. Everybody broke rank and laughed except the TI. He made us do push-ups until it was our turn to enter the cafeteria. Next story. Orlando, Florida. June 1984. We'd been out on the grinder all day marching. When we got back to our compartment, there were all these plants on the centerboard, picnic tables in the center of our barracks compartment that we were never allowed to sit on, and the air conditioning had been turned off. Our CC told us to undress, grab our towels, and head to the shower room where we did a figure 8. Just go in a line and rinse off, then go stand at the front of our bunks. He proceeded to tell us that we were such screw-ups that his dog ran away from home out of shame, his mom moved out of state, and his grandfather took his own life. The next 30 minutes consisted of 8-count bodybuilders, push-up position forever begin, and everything in between. It got so bad the deck was filled with sweat, and it became impossible to do anything but slip. The towels we had in front of us did little to alleviate the slipperiness of it all. He told us we were going to be cycled until the compartment became a greenhouse, and, quote, "Every freaking plant is going to blossom." Most scary thing ever, and to this day, the most hilarious memory I have of boot camp. Company C-185. Next story. Oz range instructor. We had a recruit, big bastard, had to be easily 6'6". You could see him coming a mile away. I hadn't seen him before, as I'd been on leave and returned a few days prior, calling the roll to ensure everyone is there. I get him to check off, look him up and down, give it a couple seconds, and turn to the platoon sergeant. "Screw me, boss, where'd you get this one?" "Pardon, corporal. This recruit appears to be a freaking yowie that's been shaved and taught English." Sergeant, recruits, range officer, and assistants are all peeing themselves laughing. Think Sasquatch/Yeti. I refuse to believe that I said that name correctly, but it's what I've got, and I can't really find any pronunciation of it, so... Yep. For some reason, I didn't really think that Australian folklore existed, which doesn't make any sense, I know, but it's just something I've never really considered. They have their own mythical creatures. That's cool. Next story. Since this has become a venue for sharing boot camp stories, One morning, we were formed up and were at parade rest while the TI, this was Air Force, spoke to us about something. When he was done talking, he ordered us to attention. One airman brought his hands to his sides, but didn't move his feet. The TI noticed this and said, "If you don't put your legs together, I'm gonna screw you." There was giggling. Next story. Went through RTC Great Lakes in '94, and still get a good chuckle thinking back to being in the lean and rest with guys trying to arch their backs up, and SH-1 Shortridge screaming, "Chicago is polluted enough without your butt sticking up in the air." I can also clearly remember the night we arrived in boot camp after spending the day at MEPS, then arriving at RTC around 10 p.m., doing your analysis and getting a pair of Navy sweats to wear. They sent us to our racks around 1 a.m. Then at 2 a.m. being woken up by SH-1 launching a huge empty metal trash can down the center of the base screaming, "Get your butts out of those racks!" Next story. Drill sergeant from 88 to 90, Fort Jackson, South Carolina. During one of my female cycles, male and female cycles, not co-ed, I was senior drill. I instructed them to write last name on back of collar on BDU jackets to eliminate confusion when washing clothes. Anyway, in chow line at mess hall, dining facility, I noticed that she wrote name on outside of BDU jacket. While trooping the line, I noticed her mistake and promptly said in passing, "You are 8 up, private." She quickly said, "Not lately, drill sergeant." I snapped to attention, did an about face, and kept on stepping. Next story. Not sure if this fits. I was in basic training at Fort Benning in '85. The two dudes closest to me in our chow hall line were overweight dudes, and I showed up for basic training at 6'1", weighing about 150. The first day in the chow hall, one of the DIs came up and said, "This is perfect. These two are too goddamn fat, and this one needs to bulk up." He took something off both of their plates and put it on mine. This became a thing, and those two dudes decided I was to blame. At the time, it caused a stir in the chow hall. It got quiet, and then everyone that heard laughed. I don't know, man. It's kind of funny now, but I didn't think it was funny then. One of them didn't make it out of basic. The other slimmed down, and we became friends while we were at Benning. I lost track of him after AIT. Man, I've got to go rest my voice. Holy. I also got to find a better way to do the drill sergeant, like, gravelly kind of voice without hurting me. You'd think I'd be able to do something like this, but I just can't. My voice is too naturally smooth, I guess. Anyway, that's the last story for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in the next one.